Marx and Satan by Richard Wurmbrand is a fascinating book, in part because of the style and what brought the book about. But that also makes it a little frustrating to read, and toward the end of the book it feels like it drags a little bit while looking for a landing place, even though it is a relatively brief book. It's another one of those books that falls under the category of, this is not what I was expecting when I was going into it. I thought Marx and Satan would be a book comparing the beliefs and practices of Marxism and all of its children, such as communism or today's critical race theory, to the actions and attitudes of Satan in the Bible. So just as Satan worked to deceive and tear down faith in the Most High, so communism does the same today. It is not that at all. Wurmbrand is making the rather bold claim: Karl Marx was a Satanist, and Marxism is a front to spread the religious practices of Satanism around the world. Welcome to Rev Reads, your home for Christian book reviews from the perspective of a pastor. If you're new to the channel and want to discover more eye-opening and shocking books, please subscribe to the channel to stay up to date with the most current reviews. If you're a regular to the channel, please like and share this video so others can know about the demonic foundations of Marxism and critical theory as revealed through the work of Richard Wurmbrand. And if you want to support Rev Reads, you can become a patron of the channel at patreon.com/RevReads. Marx and Satan is an interesting book in part because of its format. Richard Wurmbrand, following his imprisonment in Romania under the Soviet Union and in his freedom in the United States, heard rumblings. Karl Marx was a Christian turned atheist who only then became a political and social revolutionary. So Wurmbrand started taking notes and collecting information on Marx and his followers whenever he could find information pointing to a Satanist background. Marx and Satan isn't so much a book written to prove that Karl Marx was a Satanist, but the book really is a collection of all of the little pieces of information that Wurmbrand could put together to point to a possible foundation for a Satanist past for Marxism. Reading this book is in some ways like being handed the notes and the files of a detective before a murder case goes to trial and then sorting through a lot of those notes yourself. I think this makes the book kind of cool to read. It makes the reader feel a little bit like a detective, imagining a crime scene, and also at times the book can be frustrating because there are going to be places where you're going to read what Richard Wurmbrand wrote and think to yourself, yeah, that's not a good argument. And Richard Wurmbrand even admits in a couple of places in the book that not all these arguments are the best. This is just all of his notes put together. I do think in the end, Richard Wurmbrand makes a compelling case that Karl Marx was a Satanist. The main arguments are based first on Marx's own anti-God and satanic poetry. Second, we have Karl Marx's extreme hatred for Christians and Jews. Marx himself wrote a book entitled The Jewish Question, where he wrote the following: "We know that behind every tyrant stands a Jew. For the Jews who steal the treasures of mankind, the fact that the Jews have become so strong as to endanger the life of the world causes us to disclose their organization, their purpose, that its stench might awaken the workers of the world to fight and eliminate such a canker." Karl Marx's writings promote the worst of anti-Semitism. Wurmbrand himself felt the cruelty directly delivered at pastors in communist prison. Cruelties such as making priests serve the Eucharist, where the cup was urine and the bread was feces. Christianity is hated like no other religion by Marxists or in communist states. Even today, what is the greatest evil in the eyes of critical theorists in America? It is white Christian nationalism. Now, they add the descriptor white on there, so the average person and even many Christians will denounce white Christian nationalism because it makes you picture someone in a white hood who's part of the KKK. But the attack on white Christian nationalism is simply a tactic to eliminate Christians from having any role or speaking up in politics, because Marxism hates the church. At places in this book, Wurmbrand shows also his powerful insights into culture, as he wrote on how Darwinism is one of the founding belief structures that led to the arrival of Satanic Marxism. Satan could not dethrone God, so he devalued man. Man was shown to be the progeny of animals and a mere servant to his intestines. Marx and Satan. This is a book that is far more important in 2022 than it was when the last edition of it was published in 1986. And that makes it a shame that this book is no longer in print. One thing I'd also like to know is why Amazon will not allow for the purchase of the Kindle edition of this book online as well. You see, the farther we move from the Soviet Union's gulag, the more people are willing to entertain that good can be found in the theories of Marxism. Woke Preacher Clips on Twitter and YouTube consistently shares clips from nationally known pastors who preach Marxist theories straight from the pulpit. Christians must see. We need to understand the foundations of Marxism as Wurmbrand presents it in his book, so that we can see clearly that Marxism, critical theory, they add nothing to the Bible's teaching on justice. Instead, they bring about a theory and a worldview that is based on envy, hatred, atheism, and violence. Marxism is truly satanic. Now, I want to say this book isn't for the timid at heart, but if you are deeply concerned about the implications of Marx's influence on our society today, you need to get your hands on Marx and Satan by Richard Wurmbrand.